Right guys, welcome back. So the way this video is going to work is this video is in like 3 or 4 parts depending on what you want from it. We're looking at moving platforms. The first video that we're going to do now is moving a platform from left to right. So as you can see, I've kind of put a box in here. It'll move from there to there and it'll just keep looping around and doing that. The second video will be to do with rotation. So if you want something to be like constantly spinning like a bridge or something like that, or even something that could kill you, that's how we would do that. And the last one will be for movement and rotation. You'll be able to pick which one it's doing and all that kind of stuff. And then once like we've got the movement and rotation done, that's when we start to look at triggers and whether or not you want it to be triggering that certain movement or that certain rotation. So essentially, let's just get cracking. So all I've done that's different to your projects is I've just put a platform there. That's all I've done so far, which, as we've done before, is just a box that you move. What I'm going to do, and this is not the most ideal way, but it gets the job done. I'm just going to duplicate this one 2 times, and then I'm going to move one of them to being where I want the box to move to. So we've essentially got 3 boxes. We've got 2 on top of each other here and 1 over there. So these bottom 2, I'm going to remove the mesh renderer, I'm going to remove the box collider and the mesh filter, because all I need is I just need positions from them. So this is going to be my point A, and this is going to be my point B. So all we actually need from them is that transform that we've got at the top here. So we've got our moving platform, we've got our point A, and we've got our point B. This is the point at which we now jump into code. So if you right click in your scripts folder, let's load up a C# script, and I'm gonna call this move to platform. Why not? Double click that. Let's open up MonoDevelop. Right, on this side as usual. Oh, I don't want that. So quite easy this. It's essentially a series of if statements with booleans. The only thing we're using that's a little bit different to what we've done before is a MoveTowards function, which obviously we need for making it move. So to start with, I want to define 2 variables. A public transform variable for target object A, and obviously one for target object B. After that, I'm going to set up a public float for the speed, because obviously we need to tell it how fast to move and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't look like I can spell today. And obviously I just mentioned about booleans. We need to check to see if it's got to where it needs to be. So I'm going to set up 2 booleans. One for A reached, and you've probably guessed what the second one is. This is for B reached. Right, nice and simple. So after this, we just jump straight into the update function. I'm going to put a fair bit of space in here. We don't need to do anything with the start function. It's not really required unless you want a preset, but I don't really like doing presets. You could set the booleans at the start, but I may want it to start at B for some reason rather than A, or I may want to change the speed for different ones. So I'm not going to set anything in the start function. I'd prefer to do that in the inspector for being able to change different platforms for different reasons. Anyway, right, let's just jump in. So what we're going to do is we're going to first tell it how fast it's going to move this platform. We've got speed in here at the minute, but we haven't got speed in terms of a time, if that makes sense. So I'll show you the line and I'll explain it. So we've used steps before, which is kind of the way I do speed. So float step equals speed times time dot delta time. And what this is essentially saying is this is how fast you're going to be moving over this period of time, and that is step. It's quite kind of self-explanatory. If you think about speed has to take time into consideration. Look at cars in miles per hour or kilometers per hour. It's time. So that's what we're essentially saying there, is we're saying times this by time. Obviously, time is a constant variable. 1 second is 1 second, or the way it does it is in frames, but you know, you still get the idea. So, right, let's just jump in. We're going to set up 4 if statements now. The first 2 are very similar, so I'm going to do it once and then copy and paste it, and the second 2 are very similar as well, so I'm going to do that as well. So if A reached equals true, so obviously you don't need to be a genius to figure out we're checking to see if A reached is true. Transform dot position, which is the position of the object this script is attached to. Yeah, I don't need to reference the object because we're in it. And this is where we say, right, take the position and move towards this position. So this is where this comes in. So vector 3 dot move towards. Before I start typing this, you can see. So it's looking for the current position of the object. Obviously, transform.position is the current position, so we will type that in. So transform.position, looking for the target object. So if A has been reached, the target object now is target B. So if we put target object B, which tells us what the object is, we obviously need to say dot position. Because obviously we put a transform in there, so it's the transform dot position. And then the float, the max distance delta, that's just step. We just set that. So that's nice and simple. We're just saying to it, right, if A has been reached, move towards B. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste this. I'm going to just make some small changes just to reference B at the top, and then the target object is moving to after that point is A. Nice and simple. Next bit, even simpler, because all we're doing now is we're checking and we're setting it up to change these booleans. So what I'm going to do, another if statement. As I said, we're setting 4 if statements in total. If transform dot position equals, so it's saying it's got to be exactly this. Target object A dot position. Obviously, close bracket, open and close curly braces. Yeah, so you don't need to be genius at maths to know we're checking to see if that position is the same as this position. If it is, then we know for a fact that A reached equals true and B reached equals false. I like how it says breached. I didn't even think of that. Rather than writing all this again, I'm just going to copy and paste it. Change it so it says B, and then we are going to set A reached to be false and B reached to be true. So that's nice and simple, I'd like to think anyway. So we'll save this. We'll go back into Unity. We'll find our moving platform. We'll attach the script to it when it lets me. Right, so we've got a couple of things to set in here. So target object A, we've already put these in here. So we've got these there. We've got speed to set. So I'm going to set it to 5 to start with. And I know for a fact that because A and moving platform are in the same place, I know that A's already been reached. So I'm going to set that boolean here. As I said, if it was somewhere else or you want it to be moving to a certain place, then you might set it differently. So fingers crossed, when I click play, there we go. That's moving now. That's moving from A to B consistently. If I wanted to change how fast it's going, yet again, I'll just change the speed. So there we go. That's moving a lot slower. So now, right, let's see if I can do this without falling off and dying. So we're getting to here. we've got this object that's nipping about. I need to get to that other platform. I know that these are lined up perfectly, so I'm not going to like fall off the edge in a weird way. There we go. So that is a very kind of simple, very quick mechanic for setting up moving platforms in your game levels. You'll have seen this in a lot of different games. There's different ways it could do it. It could go up and down if it wanted, or if you wanted it to do that. Yeah, very simple mechanic, but it just adds that other element of difficulty to your games. So yeah, as I say, the next video I'll be looking at rotation, so we can have spinning objects, and then after that I'll be showing you how to combine the two scripts so you can set it to work that way. So yeah, God, I've got no coffee. Catch you in a bit.